Before we cut in with part 2 of the Shadow Tower Abyss conversation, I want to cut in and let people know that we are coming up on kind of a crucial time for this show and for the network. Whenever a new Souls game comes out, we get a huge bump of listeners, and we want to try and make the most of that momentum. This is a very hotly anticipated game, and the way you can help us here is to go, if you haven't rated us or reviewed us on iTunes, go and do that. It helps us get on the front page. If you haven't considered donating us on Patreon, go to Duckfeed.tv/ if you haven't donated to us on Patreon yet, go to Patreon. If you haven't backed us on Patreon yet, go to patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv. And God, just tweet about us, write about us, any of that. All of that helps get our search mojo up and our rankings and everything. So yeah, we need your help right now, more than ever, really, to help as many people know about us as possible.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
You're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a clean, wholesome favorite where you've left certain things behind.
Yep. We have cleaned our palate of certain unpleasantness. And this week, we are continuing our discussion of Shadow Tower Abyss, which is From Software's follow-up to the Shadow Tower PlayStation game for the PlayStation 2.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to the last episode, you should. That's where we go over generalities and we'll make all of this make sense. So for now, we're just going to kind of get right into it with an area that has a good name.
Yes, the Scouring Rush. So previously, we had just finished up the White Wall area, also known as the Chalkstone area. We renamed it the Teeming Quarry, and we took the elevator up to what will end up being kind of the hub world for this level of the tower.
And we didn't take the elevator back up to town or back down to town because you don't really have to. Kind of
right.
This is the plant area. Of the game. This is where we're fighting plant monsters and plant stalks, including some old favorites from Shadow Tower.
Yeah. So this is like a stone temple area, sans pilot, that is kind of being overgrown and reclaimed. Okay, so it is some kind of tribe named.
And the walls are covered with all of the chandling. And the,
wait, did Gary Shandling die?
Yes.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, that was the joke.
Okay. I didn't know that, so, huh.
Yeah. Dating this specifically when we're recording it. That happened today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's
yes. So you step out and you hear this heartbeat and this dramatic music to this realm covered in ivy, as the Atlas says.
Yes. And we're back to gulps. We got another gulp showing up here. These bara gulps show up here.
Yeah, these are like corrupted. They move a little bit zombie-like, and they've got these tyrant arms.
Well, they've got two arms, one like gigantic mutant arm, which is awesome, just like a tyrant.
Yeah, like
but
tyrant.
Then they've got their tiny arm that holds a shield. Like this design is so good.
Yeah.
Like one human arm holds a shield, and they just got they're like hermit crabs.
Oh no, that's those come later in the red. They're more explicitly tyrant like ones later on.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, like these ones specifically have like just one big arm, and I don't know if that is some kind of plant contagion, if it's some kind of like degradation from being further up in the tower. I don't know.
Yeah, I also don't know.
Yeah.
There's the laser plants from Shadow Tower show up again.
Yeah, Balaferma.
I'm really happy those things show up because I love those things that shoot the laser kind of all around the ground.
Yeah, they Metal Gear Rex it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except these ones are they're posted up, like they're actually rooted to the ground, and so you walk in, they're a little bit like turrets, but they're placed to cover each other.
Yes.
So you have these rooms that are just teeming and overgrown with them.
You have to be moving constantly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So as you're going down here, like this area is arranged around this central like spiral staircase, and the way that you kind of need to go is usually blocked off either by some kind of growth that is extending across there, or just by cave-ins, right? Something is like ripping the walls down from the inside, like poison ivy is like roosted up in the middle of this. One of the areas that you can go to has this man in a military outfit who, hasn't seen a human for a long time. And he already starts out seeming kind of off, saying, I'll show them one day, I'll reach the outside. So he is on the same quest that you are.
Yeah, except he's Patches.
Yep. I love the way this reveals itself, because it was like meeting an old friend.
Yeah. It's super cool that he's not strictly, he doesn't have the same name or anything like that, but he serves a very similar function to that, which is great. So he asks you for 5 Kuhn, just begging for money. You give him 5 dog tags, and he gives you a key, this old rusty key to this room that's behind him. And the other thing is true, that is he's sitting on a treasure chest.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. Then he's going to leave. I'm going to get that treasure. You go and this room full of treasure, and it is full of empty treasure chests, and there's a trap chest.
Yep. That will take you down to nothing.
Yeah. Like a really serious trap chest. And then when you go back, he's gone.
Yeah. Well, that room is also full of corpses, and there's writing about somebody who has gone crazy thinking everybody is the enemy.
Yes.
Right.
And it's Patches.
Yeah.
It's really great. And then if you murder him instead, like I saved before I did this, he got me. It wasn't like I was expecting this, but I saved beforehand just because I'm murdering everybody I can to see if I can in this game. Then you don't, obviously you don't have that problem, but you never get the key.
Yeah.
So if you just you're paranoid and you kill him, you never get to find out that there's nothing in there.
Yeah, so. This was a wonderful reveal when I got in there, even before I tripped the trap chest, the idea that all of the other chests were open and this was a place full of corpses. It was like, oh, he locked them in here.
Yeah.
That's great. When you come back out, this is a side quest. We are to assume. So last episode we talked about Ariel / Rurufan or whatever her name is in this iteration, saying oh, there's somebody who has stolen something. This is him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And we want to murder him.
Yes, we want to murder him. And well, there are 2 ways you can go. You can either go the way that's going to take you forward over to Cliff World, or you can go to Waterfall World.
Yes.
But the way there is currently blocked, so we have to deal with the Scouring Rush and kind of the corruption at the heart before we can get our revenge.
Yeah. One of the things I like about this is how every area doesn't necessarily have a boss to it. Some of them are just little puzzles that block other areas.
Yeah.
So it kind of breaks up the structure a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder how many different kinds of bosses they could do with this,
in this engine.
What in this engine or with this combat system.
Yeah. I feel like they probably push it about as far as it can go.
Yeah.
With the amount of maneuverability you have, we get the limit of attacks that would feel fair. You couldn't do anything too much more deadly or much more, because they did that in Shadow Tower.
Right.
So it ended up being this guy's just going to constantly do AoEs. All I can do is try to endure it.
Yeah.
I can't actually get around it. Here they're a little bit better, but that the puzzle aspect of it feels like they're kind of making that exploration have a similar effect.
Yeah.
As a boss. Yeah.
So by doing a couple of canny drops, you eventually work your way down to the bottom of this spiral staircase, which has the puzzle boss of this area, this gigantic plant at the bottom of the tower. Who, you just have to work your way around to the front of him. And I killed him with a gun. I imagine you would be able to take melee shots at him.
Yeah, he still attacks back. I fought him with melee. He attacks back, but he's not really a boss.
Right.
You just need to back up after every attack.
Yeah,
because he's stationary.
Yep. But his eyes, it's pretty cool because the eye, instead of having an eyelid or something, it is kind of covered with petals.
Yeah,
and that is that is kind of the indication of the health.
Yeah. This opens up these new areas, including one that's super optional.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go to all of them, and also this room up top, because when you kill him, different vines wither away and go away. So you find this room full of ammo and a corpse with an AR-15,
which just breaks everything.
It was amazing that when I found that, though, I'm like, oh, I'm not just doing pistols. There's going to be machine guns in this game as well.
This is going to take me up
later. And,
submachine guns, shotguns, sniper rifles. This is Counter-Strike.
Yeah, it has the entire shooter verb set. But so there's multiple ways through here, but we're gonna go through Waterfall World.
Yes. And I don't know what to call this besides like the Cursed Falls or something.
Yeah,
there's not too much to distinguish it.
The cool thing to distinguish it is that this isn't a biome that we've seen in a Souls game.
Right.
Before, I don't remember ever seeing a lot of these would map, to something we've already seen in a later game, but this feels like something they haven't revisited. Like a very water heavy area, and you spend a lot of time underwater here.
Yes, you do.
Your character does not have to breathe.
which is bizarre. You can get items, you can get a life vest that makes it easier to navigate down here as well. Yeah, like in all the Souls games, if you go underwater, you die. Yeah, it is a bottomless pit.
Patches completes his transformation into Patches if you didn't murder him from before.
Yeah, he is standing on the other side. Is like, you got me. And so if I will give you this map if you don't kill me, just come over here and shake my hand. And then he flips he flips the switch and drops the bridge out from under you, dropping you into the water where these invisible fish monsters will start killing you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he says, I will get the spear with my own hands. You and that monster woman can't stop me.
Yes.
It's like super Patches. I murdered him before this once I realized he was just going to trap me. And the bridge still falls down.
Yes, he falls on the lever to make it fall. So
I murdered him back in the old room.
Ah, okay.
And it still happens. You still end up down here.
So regardless, you do have to make this circuit all the way around. And there's not much to really describe this aside from the fact that you are going above and below water. You have these enemies that are barely visible, these kind of remora fish almost that are attacking you, and also these tri-split mouth dinosaur things called grundums.
Yes. Which is a mix between a Grundle and a Gundam.
Yeah.
You see what level you are by putting them together.
Yep, it's Seth Grundle turning into a Gundam.
Yep. The remora things that you fight, the gimmick between these things, and it's going to be similar to a monster we're going to fight in another area a little bit later, but they're less visible when they're close to you than they are, and that it's just supposed to be a function of the water. I get the idea that they're supposed to be kind of translucent. So if you can see them from a distance, I found them easier to kill from a distance if I could.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they are just straight up next to you and invisible, and you just need to start kind of slashing wildly.
Yeah. The other danger when you're down here are these whirlpools that will just suck you in.
Yes. Yeah, and you can fight against them. They're not quite traps, but if you don't expect it, you can get dragged into them. Yeah. And they put some treasure right on the edge, so you have to kind of let yourself get pulled close.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's worth coming here, not just for revenge, but because you get this is where you go to load out your ranged attacks, because you get the shotgun, but you also find a crossbow and a bow down here as well.
Yeah.
Which I didn't end up using those. I felt good grabbing them, but a crossbow and a bow don't mean much when you have a gun.
I didn't either. That's why I was saying last episode where I wonder when guns were introduced, because they just invalidate so much of your combatness.
Yeah.
The bows have really cool names. They're really evocative. A bunch of them cause status effects. I was oh, this is really neat. But nope.
Yeah.
And you never find arrows, or you very rarely find arrows too.
Yeah. You can buy them, but
yeah.
Well, I suppose I was going to say you could use that money for something else. No, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. You might as well. It is. And this is another area where I just got overburdened. Yeah. With treasure, because it just this is just a treasure land.
Yes, and that is tricky because you're also moving very slowly because of the water.
Yes, yeah. But you make your way through. You spend more time here than we're covering, but we're kind of just hitting the generalities.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, you also find a pair of chucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
which inexplicably make you a better caster. It is some of the best casting equipment in the game.
You also find a life vest too, which would make sense to. If you needed that. For some reason, it doesn't do anything, though. It doesn't make you float or anything like that.
It makes you move faster under the water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which would how Life Vests do. Yeah, it's just really weird. I just didn't want to give up my armor. So I never ended up using it. But you kind of move past this area. It makes a big loop. Yeah. You get back to the end. You want to be really careful not to fall down, because if you do, you have to go through the whole loop again.
Yep.
But we kind of move on to go to Cliff World, which is a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And here, Cliff World is really simple, but it has the really, really good opening sting. when you come into it, and it's very funny to me.
Oh yeah, this is
because
ridiculous.
This is the most invasive I think you are. This really seems like a nation of peaceful bird people that you're breaking in to kill them and their babies.
Yes, this is a cliff bird, also known as the Harpy's Airy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you haven't lived until you walk up with like a shotgun, like just hold it against the baby bird's head and just shoot its head off.
Oh, Gary, to be fair,
it's so goofy.
It screamed mildly inconvenienced me. I mean, let's just be sure that we've got, like, don't get it twisted. All right.
Yeah. I don't want to make any kind of straw man here. It is a mild inconvenience, the scream. The bird probably did deserve to have its head shot off, but it's a really, like, other than being a little bit bigger, it looks like a baby bird.
Yep.
Like it's really accurate, and just like in this super cool video game, you're walking around shooting the heads off baby birds. Yeah. This is super funny.
Yeah. So this is an area that is outside. You step out, like you're on a cliffside to this awesome, like, electric guitar tremolo,
yeah,
kind of sound, which you heard when we walked into the area. And these bird they're bird men, they're birds of war. They're like this is the alternate ending of EVO, the Search for Eden.
Yeah. It is. So in practice, you're fighting a lot of flying enemies in this, so it's kind of less than ideal, but it's also like kind of beautiful. I mean, it's kind of it kind of looks really good though. Like when you go out in this area and like you've spent all this time in this cramped, kind of claustrophobic indoor areas, it reminds me. I was talking to Allison about it, and she was like, "Yeah, it reminded me of going into the dragon area for the first time," and it's kind of similar. Like it's not quite as majestic, as that, but it does feel really like kind of awe-inspiring when you walk out onto this area.
It gave me hope that there would be more like it. Actually,
yeah, me too. I wanted to. I mean, there are some later levels that are really good that we're heading up on, and some that are not so good too. Yeah. But it made me think like, oh, like, am I going to get into a real like shit's on, and shit's only kind of on.
Yeah. But yeah, so you have flying enemies. They mostly just kind of like post up slightly, a small distance off of these walkways. But really the big danger is falling, I think. Like you're dealing with kind of this irregular terrain and kind of going in and out, as we alluded to, when the baby birds scream for their mommies, it will cause a little bit of damage to you. And some of the big bird people will blind you, which is annoying, but whatever.
It's mild inconvenience, which is a good reason to kill birds.
Yeah. There's a cool carving. From a faraway darkness, desiring a new land, I saw a dream of the revolving heavens.
Yeah, that's
same.
Nice. We didn't same. we didn't talk about this, but there are also maps.
Yeah,
like a lot of times on carvings on walls, people actually have drawn maps of the areas,
which is funny because they're useless.
They're not. Yeah, they're really, because there's no orientation.
Right.
Like it needs a "you are here" to it, and it doesn't have that.
If only the Shadow Tower was more like the Westfield Center.
If only it was more like Zach Braff's fail film of Kickstarter or whatever.
Blech.
Yeah. Did you ever? I think I've talked about this before. Did you ever read the short screenplay Tim Heidecker made about Zach Braff's Kickstarter movie?
No.
It's very funny. It's two people at a kitchen table. They're having problems with bills, and the woman is just like, "You had to give money to that Kickstarter." Because they can't pay their bills because they gave money to Zach Braff to make a movie. Yeah. And it's just really dark. I'll put it in the show notes. It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah. Anywho, that Zach Braff movie, no good.
Yeah.
I don't like Zach Braff.
Wish I was here.
Yep.
Yeah.
No thanks.
But yeah, there are maps, especially here, because like it's already so wonky. You're dealing with these, narrow caves and bridges and stuff. Like if there was like a big room that I could see, like, oh, like I'm in this big square adjacent to the small square, I know what this is. It also covers so little of the space.
Yeah.
That it feels more like a world detail than anything functional.
Except there's one in like almost every area. Yeah. And they're just never really good. Even the map that's on the guide is not very good.
Yeah.
For this. When we were talking about how you get there's like ring bloat in this game?
Yes.
You find 7 rings in this area.
Jesus.
Just compared to how rare they were in Shadow Tower, it's amazing. So you make your way through here, you kill birds as you do. Going in and out of these tunnels. There's another thing these birds do where they spit up this white slime, this kind of phosphorescent sticky white stuff that slows you down.
Yeah.
As well, which is kind of a bummer. Eventually you find this gigantic kind of nest in the middle of Styx, and or not the river Styx or the Bam Styx, but of branches. And you head up and you find the boss of this area. This gigantic four-winged person kind of descends and said, "Those made by the master live for him. The master hunts down the unclean." And summons a bunch of his cronies, and you have a boss fight.
Yes. There. And so, again, guns make this a complete non-issue because these birds, they're not so tough without their wings, which you can just shoot off.
Yes, they are tough without their heads, but not without their wings.
Right.
Even though this was the first point in the game where, like, I mean, I've always been powerful in this game, but where I outpaced the power curve. And it's really satisfying to be walking on one of these tunnels, have a bird fly up to you, and time a horizontal strike to one-shot lop off its head, which was like my main verb in this was lopping off baby birds' heads and lopping off adult birds' heads.
Yeah.
Are my two favorite things in here. And, you know, at this point, like, I think I'd gotten the... there's a sword you can buy that gives you like slow or medium regen on your health. And then there's an armor you can get in the next area that gives you fast regen on your health. And you're invincible. Because remember with Shadow Tower from the last episode, you spend health to repair items.
Yes.
That's still true.
Very much the case here.
If my health is rocketing up, you know, at any given time, like I can just repair everything for free with a little patience, even though I didn't.
It's like a free-to-play game.
It is. You just have to, it's a waiting tax. Yeah. Because and then you can kind of see it. And then they had health restoring rings in Demon Souls, and then got rid of them more or less for Dark Souls, and haven't brought them back really because they realize that's kind of a broken mechanic in these games.
Yeah.
And here it is the most broken because you can stack health regen equipment. Yeah. Like very easily.
Yep.
So I don't know if that was the sword you were using, but what weapons were you rocking at this point?
Whatever had the highest stamina. Kind of deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Just whatever.
So like a dagger, like we're using like a light weapon?
I mean, like it's Shadow Tower. Like you don't really have a build. You just kind of use whatever's there because like it's going to a road and you use whatever's next.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really a build, but like I did have like I didn't use a lot of daggers. I didn't use a lot of fast small things. Yeah. Just because I wanted the reach.
I liked those situationally. Like like nothing was threatening enough or had enough counter reach to make that enough of a disadvantage for me. Yeah.
But so you fight this boss fight, you mow down a bunch of birds.
Yep.
And the bird is in denial.
Yes. My destiny was defeat. You have won. If not I, then Master will, I assume, defeat you. Whatever. Like this again. They don't make it super clear, but you are killing the Seven Lords or whatever. And it drops the Emerald Lift Key again. One of these gems that looks like an eye. There's a fun detail there. The nest is full of cunes and rings. Yeah. So yeah, like they're just birds. They're collecting shiny stuff.
Yeah. They and we've destroyed their culture.
Is this Sparkly Crow?
Ooh, maybe when those little babies grows up to be Sparkly Crow.
Yep, the one that like you missed,
grabs
monster.
Them and raises them as his own. If you didn't put a stop to that, us monsters. You drop down this ramp to get back to the central tower. Ariel's back, and says because you've killed the person she wants you to kill, and he is dead. Then will you be the next to seek the spear? Will you seek the spear next?
Yeah.
Yes. I've been doing it. I'm going to keep doing it.
It's the only way out. Like it's not like only one of us can look for it at a time.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's not like lining up at an MMO, like to talk to an NPC to get this quest. Like we can all do it. Onto the next area, the Red Sand Spire, aka Red Desert area.
Yes,
aka the Blooded Sands.
Yes, the Rusty Cleft.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Red Sand Spire actually. That feels fine to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't actually dig this level that much.
No,
this has a couple of annoying, like really annoying. The next two actually have a couple of really annoying gimmicks that I'm glad I haven't seen reused.
Yes. So the gimmick for this one is low visibility.
Well, it's low visibility, and then there is the boss of this area that screams every once in a while and hurts you. And you don't get to the boss for a long time. So it's functionally not that different than the poison. So there's just a health tax for being here. Yeah. You can't stop that. It's not a status effect. It's just him screaming from across the map and hurting you.
It's just an attack you can do from unlimited distance.
Yes. And it's a little, it doesn't end up being worse than poison, but it's more annoying and it's kind of startling. Yeah. So that's a bummer. I also found this area hard to navigate as far as keeping my bearings.
Yes, because it's like in a zigzag kind of feeling.
It's a zigzag with a bridge that bisects it.
Yes.
And when you get up onto the bridge, you end up doing these kind of curves in the tunnel to get up on top of the bridge. You don't know which way you're facing, and you have to drop off the bridge to continue. If you just go down the other side, that doesn't get you where you need to go. You need to actually fall down on one side of the bridge. But it's very easy to fall down on the side you've already been to and have to do a lot of backtracking.
Yes.
Or at least I found.
Again, with these enemies that will respawn. These are the enemies. So these are human warriors that have been corrupted somehow, that have like the gigantic tyrant Bandersnatch arms, with the tiny Quaid arm that is holding the round shield up in front of their torso.
Yeah, this is a great design.
Yeah.
This is a Bandersnatch. I was going to say that from Code Veronica.
Yep.
That's what they look like. These guys are great. They're tough. Like this is actually kind of tough.
Yeah.
I thought.
And they're here kind of guarding this place. One says, "This is the grave of the abandoned, the cursed spear's throne. Our blood is tainted by sand. Your awful power is sealed." Again, another gimmick here. You can't cast, but
unless you put on a thing that lets you unseal. Like you can put on some equipment that protects against that status effect, but they're trying to stop you from being able to cast while you're here.
Yes. The spear's echo blocks your escape. Be gone. This place is for corpses. And then the messenger who said this falls over dead.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
It's like a little set piece.
So these enemies are called Mandas or Mandas. Yeah.
I kept having some kind of error that would happen with my controller, where my controller would vibrate when I got hurt, but sometimes it just wouldn't turn off.
Oh God, that's terrible.
It would last until the next thing that would send the vibration signal to my controller.
Oh wow.
But every once in a while my controller would just go continuously and like numb my hands as I was like desperately trying to find a ledge to jump off of to make it stop.
Just to trigger it, like just somebody hit me, please.
Exactly. I want you to hit me.
I had a similar thing because I would put my controller down to take notes. Just as I was like over in an alcove or something. I don't know why I didn't pause. I guess it didn't. I guess it doesn't make a difference. But I put it down to type a note, and then I would hear a as it vibrated on the tabletop. It was very upsetting, very startling.
You also get a sense here too that you might be just an invading force here, where you are hurting these people for no reason. You find a note on the wall that says, "We are abandoned. We want no more victims."
Right.
Like this is like No Country for Old Monsters. Like these guys are just going here to retire. Yeah. And they don't want you to cast spells at them. They don't want you to fight them. They just want to hang out and arm wrestle in peace. Yeah. While their spare hand pours a frosty beverage into their chest mouth.
Yep. So there's another cool little set piece here where there's a cave behind a secret wall with this body that is pinioned with swords. And these are really good swords. This is where you get the pirate saber, and a bunch of other stuff. This is good stuff if you can carry it.
Yes, which you can't. And the way that this game kind of feels randomly laid out sometimes, like there's not a item shop, or there is only at the very beginning of this area. So if you end up overburdening yourself, keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, you can't drop things.
Right.
Like it's insane. Like there's no, I couldn't figure out a way to do it. I looked online forever. Like there's no way to drop something if you pick it up. So like it ends up being a thing where you check your weight before you pick up this sword, because once you pick up that sword, like every item is cursed. Yeah. Like more or less, like it can only be sold. So like you can get to the end of this area, end up overburdened, and just be like, like do I backtrack through the entire area at a reduced move speed, or do I like reload to a time before I picked up that cutlass? So again, that's my main struggle with this game was having too much treasure.
And it sucks because I like picking stuff up in a video game.
Me too. And I like seeing the stuff, and I want to see how it works, and I want to see what its stats are and everything. And some of the swords look really badass. Yep. Like a badass sword. So that's kind of annoying. This bridge that I was talking about that switches, it crumbles kind of around you. Yeah. So you can still move, it's kind of like a trap, but you can avoid it. But eventually you kind of make your way forward, and you find this shrine to this spear. And as you're getting there, it kind of crumbles apart, and the boss of this area shows up. This
Yes.
kind of this monster thing.
Yeah,
You
it's
have
like
here,
this-
it's a tumor beast.
Yeah. Kind of. It looks like a Silent Hill creature a little bit.
Yeah.
Not just because I have that on the mind, but like it is something that is kind of corrupted beyond any sense of having ever been human. But it speaks to you and says, "There is no reason to oppose me, but I must test your power myself. Do you wish to leave the tower or to take the path of the Spear King? My body has become grotesque. I have no regrets now. Show me that power." So like. He is in this almost like what's his name? Not the Fume Knight, but the other one, Alon kind of situation. Like, I don't want to fight you, but if you're going to test me, okay.
Yeah, and he the kind of trick to this. I mean, you can just stand at the other side of the room and shoot him, but you're in such a small arena, and the way that this shrine is built up, the room is kind of shaped like a capital letter C.
Yeah,
and you are in the far end of it, and he's kind of advancing towards you. Like, there's not really a way to get around him. So it kind of, for me, it became, I don't know if this was the intention, but it kind of became this intense, almost felt like something from a Resident Evil game where I just had to unload ammo into him and hope he didn't get close enough to me to do whatever he was going to do.
Yes.
But he falls before he does because guns are OP as shit.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And so this majestic creature, this Quiddle Mandus, his final words here are, "If only I could see my people again," just that.
Yeah.
So super sad.
Yeah, I've seen them. You don't want to see them. They're gross.
they look kind of like you. You would be so proud.
Check this out, Cole. I from the notes, I don't think you saw this. On your way out, if you leave, and I don't know what spawned this, so I have no idea. You get the lift key and you can head out to meet Ariel. But on the bridge, there was a gigantic monster. Did you fight like a mini boss here?
No.
I don't know what I did to spawn it. There is a gigantic monster that's the biggest monster, like individual monster I fought in the game.
Oh wow.
That is again kind of like indistinct and lumpy, similar to the boss. But not as busy design wise.
Yeah.
And he was kind of just tromping back and forth down on the ground. I'm like, oh shit. But I was on the bridge, so I did the old Shadow Tower Abyss special and emptied a couple clips into him.
Shot him.
Yeah,
with a gun.
Yes.
Okay.
The Shadow Tower Abyss special is the name of the gun.
Okay.
So I shot him a bunch, and then he dropped this really incredible armor. This is the armor I was talking about that gives you fast heal regen.
Oh wow.
And it's good for most of the game. Like I ended up switching it out for something later when I had so much health that health regen didn't matter.
Yeah.
But this was my go-to armor. I think it's called like Brilliant Aura.
Okay.
And it is it's super good. So
I ended up taking a shortcut back to the beginning. Like there's a one-way drop you can take.
I probably missed that.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty awesome. Like it felt like a cool, like fighting him would have been hard. It also felt like a secret. Like I don't know what I did to spawn it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing when I was talking about how I wish that like there was a guide. I want to know what that thing is and why it showed up for me and why it had this awesome armor.
Yeah, I'd be curious, like even if you could go in and take a look and see what his name is in the bestiary.
Well, I'm looking in the I should do that in the file because I'm looking on the guide and he's not showing up on the guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. That is that is a super unique experience.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it was super cool. When you get out though, Ariel is there again.
Yes. And she alludes to the fact that like, yes, this spear is important, but it is only a tool. Like the fact that it crumbled to ash in front of you means that it doesn't exist in this world and probably doesn't exist at all. You know, and talks about how power like this should not be given to humans. And but she thinks you're different.
Yes.
Your persistence has the power to change everything, and she wonders just how far you're going to go.
Yeah. The spear is metaphorical.
Yeah.
It's just the willingness to kill as many birds as it takes.
Yep.
That's the spear within all of us.
Yeah. Or it is just a manifestation of this eye power, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever being is at the heart of this abyss that the tower contains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You head up again to another level. This is my actual least favorite level in the game. Is the fog area.
Yeah.
Or the next thing. This sucks. I spent a lot of time here, and this is a bad gimmick that I don't like.
So we should talk about it because, like, the actual like design of the area feels pretty cool. Like visually, like I like the color. It's nice and purple. Even the enemies that you fight, they look like these Metroids. A little bit. Like this feels different, and I don't know that there is a direct comparison again to something else outside.
No, it is unique and it's visually, looks good. And the monsters that kind of look like they're kind of Metroids, and they kind of look like those skull monsters that can insta kill you, like do like Life Shaver in Final Fantasy VI.
Oh yeah.
Like they look a little bit like Life Shavers, which I always like those things. But the trick to this area is that it's full of fog. And those things, if you're close to them, they turn invisible. And not like invisible like the fish where they're just hard to see, but straight up invisible. They also teleport after shooting.
Yes.
So like, just put that together where like if something's shooting at you and they're shooting projectiles, like you're going to aim where the projectiles went, but you can't because they dodge after they shoot. Like, these things are such a pain in the dick to kill.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, it's not that huge of an area. But it's also a collectathon thing too. You're collecting Tetris pieces.
Yes.
Because it's like the fucking Witness in this shit or something, or it's a Talos Principle, to get through this door. And it's a small area that you have to make multiple loops through to get everything again, but while dealing with these monsters. And finding the things are tricky. Like some of them are behind some like pretty serious hidden doors.
Yeah.
And the like.
There is a way you can change the area. There's like this big organism in the center of one chamber that I think is like the fog generator. I forget exactly what it was called, but you can kill that. I think that changes the way that the enemies behave a little bit. Like it doesn't get rid of the atmospheric fog around. Like I can't read this area.
Yeah, it's really hard to know where to go and what to do here. It's also full of shit, like full of treasure, so you're going to get overburdened. Here. There is an item shop, that you find eventually, but is a pain in the dick to go back to.
Yeah.
But there are no less than like 4 excellent sets of armor that you find in here. Like it's just like so like glowing, powerful armor that look like unique, awesome things that are not. But mostly it's just these invisible guys. And the way I got around it is going through my old ring collection, and there's one of them that shoots discs that home in on things, and that was the trick. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, scarcity or durability became an issue.
Yeah, those rings, they're like made out of paper mache.
And I had to use them all the time because that was the thing I could use to combat these things.
Yeah.
I hated these things.
Yeah.
I do not like this area.
I didn't have as much trouble. Like I found myself able to track them based on their projectiles. So I don't know if that was just an unlucky break on your part. But yeah, like invisible enemies doesn't seem that good. Like I didn't so much care for it when they did it in Crown of the Ivory King, Yeah. In Crown of the Ivory King, it's like a trick. Yeah.
Right? Like it's like you go through and it's just telling you all it is a meat wall. Like it may as well just be like an instant death trap.
Yeah.
To go the wrong way. And like I like Priscilla because there's a cool gimmick to like seeing Priscilla.
Yeah.
When you have to kind of figure it out. Both of those are fine. This is like constantly. It's not a boss.
No.
All of the regular enemies in the game exhibit this behavior. So if the idea is like you come across them and shoot them before they go invisible, that's fine. But at this point, like ammo was running low because I use ammo on every boss because it's Shadow Tower Abyss.
Yeah.
So I found this a big bummer. And then also navigating it was kind of a pain in the ass because you end up in this like chamber that has these gigantic vines, or these like tentacles that you walk on that go back and forth. And there are kind of multiple levels to it. So it's really easy to get turned around in there. And, I'm on the 3rd stratum up facing west, but I think I'm on the 2nd stratum, facing east.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get kind of turned around.
Yeah, not totally down with this at all. It also introduces these moving platforms.
Yes, which are used to better effect in an area a little bit later.
Yeah,
like in a much more straightforward, like not perfect area, but better, I think.
Yeah. We didn't name this place.
Oh yeah, fog area is not very good.
No.
Like the mist-strewn abattoir.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you finally gather all these Tetris pieces and annoyingly have to put them in the proper spot, like you can't just walk up and say, I have all these coupons, dude.
Yeah, exchange them.
Yeah. It drops the door and you go into this area that is this big room that has a bunch of holes, and there's this floating guy in the middle talking about a cursed land after a long journey. And this is Quittlefalto. Yes. And
this is a sorcery boss fight.
Yeah.
Like he has a levitating kind of sorcerer guy who shoots spells at you.
Yeah, and this is annoying because he also has a bunch of his buddies who also shoot spells. So this is like being in front of a firing squad.
Yeah.
Like this is mandatory damage.
I guess this is the one point where it's like, oh, there's nothing to do. And his buddies rose up out of holes in the ground. So the ground is like Swiss cheese. Like you need to stay in that opening area. If you start trying to maneuver further into the room, it's tricky and you can fall into a pit. So this is kind of a bullshit boss fight. Again, like guns trivialize things. I'd saved hardcore ammo for this.
Yeah.
And I also have so many health potions at this point that like it's pretty easy to spam those if I need to. Yeah. But it is a badly designed boss fight. After you fight him, he says he guards and comforts people who fall along the way. I don't know what that means. But eventually you kill him and you get kind of into the back room is this where you actually get the key and the moving block area? I think the moving block area is optional.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the moving block area is just to get the golden mask.
Okay. Yep.
This is where you actually get the key. So you can leave if you want. But that mask is pretty good.
Yes, that mask is really good. So you can head across the way, across the vestibule here to go into a place called the moving block area, which inexplicably is entirely populated by floating mechanical Bayolet aliens.
Yes. Yeah, Bayaliens. There's like a
Beyblades.
No, I was thinking of the Outcast album, like the Atlians or whatever. Let's call this the Canyon of Forgotten Memories.
The Clockwork Canyon. That sounds
Clockwork Canyon's like a little like a children's show host. Like the Canyon of Clockwork doesn't sound as much so.
Yeah. Could call it Clockwork Landing because these came from somewhere else. Yeah.
Yes. So this area is very straightforward.
Yeah, this is one of the simplest places we've been so far. Like getting around it is a little bit tricky, but it's very, very simplistic.
It's if you look at the map from overhead, it looks like a lady reproductive system like map. Like it's got that kind of like two horns that kind of lead down into a central thing, and it's just a treasure box.
Yes,
like you're just here to pick up stuff. And like you have to make there's a shop here, and like I took multiple trips to it.
Oh yeah,
to sell stuff, and it is time will tell if this is worth it. Probably not, but eventually you get that mask, which is nice.
Yeah. So the trick to navigating this is that like you have these 3 big chambers and 2 smaller ones that kind of link them. And there are these big kind of like bar platforms that are flowing in one direction or another. And they come at frequent intervals. And throughout the stage, there are switches you can flip that reverse the flow. So what you're doing is you're like heading out as far as you can and then hitting the switch so you can come back. And you have to go up and down either side in order to hit these little like kind of like grave rooms.
Little treasure rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you fight these things, these little mechanical Baylets that we mentioned, which I find pretty hard. I had a hard time with these guys. Again, maybe I was low on ammo at this point, so it was a melee thing for me. But
oh wow,
yeah,
it was a hitbox thing for me, honestly. So there's some of them that do a dick move of exploding when you kill them. They do a lot of damage. Like explosions in this game are no joke. But in general, like they are hard to target.
Yes, they're hard targets.
Yes.
I had a hard time with them. And when you go into these old treasure rooms, the whole trick is you go in and there's like 5 of them in a very small space.
Yeah. And some of them, sometimes when you open a chest, one will fly out and hit you.
Yes. Yeah. So that they're guarding this place. Again, I just had 1,000 health potions, so I was able to get through it. But especially the final kind of run up after you go, the third column you're going up is there's only one little side room. And then there's the ultimate room, which you get the big treasure here. But there's just so many of these things you have to fight along the way. Yeah. And you can't dodge very much. You're on a narrow sandbar that's floating through the air.
Yeah.
I just kind of healed through it, and got through that way. Like put on very heavy armor with high hit points. Because again, like Shadow Tower, any potion heals you all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
And then just waited to be almost dead and then healed and just kind of endured it, which worked fine. But it was kind of a pain.
Yeah. Oh. It was just an annoyance. So at the kind of the terminus of one of the bigger chambers here, you find this blue room that has like this power glyph, this like sign on the floor, and there are these 3 orb creatures around the side which give you their little speech. saying,
Yes.
from the dark heavens we landed on this cursed earth. We reject the light and inhabit the depths here in the abyss, right? We will fight that detestable light forever. Life will flow from the conflict. If we fall, in the end, we will be reborn. So we're dealing... which makes me think we're dealing with like the mechanical equivalent of those Medusa jellyfish or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we are eternal. We will reassemble. There's nothing you can do. We'll just be down here fighting the dark forever and ever.
Yeah, and they're aliens.
Yeah.
Like that's a, they landed here on Earth. Like that's a really crazy thing.
Yeah.
For just a throwaway detail that never adds up to much.
Yeah.
Like, but eventually, you fight them, you get this golden mask with 3 ears, or 3 eyes rather, with 3 ears, if you have very different masks.
Grant me ears.
With three eyes, and it just gives you like a huge stat bonus. Like
there's
tons
no
of extra
downside.
HP. Yeah, tons of downside, tons of extra HP, tons of extra MP.
Yeah.
It's a really great mask.
There was a similar item in the first Shadow Tower too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing, like a golden mask.
Yeah. And this is the when you get back to the elevator, Ariel is here.
Yeah.
And she says, "How far will the living go? It's ugly, but that is proof of life. I wish for my death. I am nothing more than a tool, human who clings to life. Now maybe you can kill me. Haha. Do you want to test it?" Which I did, and it's hard. But I was like, if she wants me to kill her, I will.
Yeah.
And it's a good fight. Like it uses the space better. Like she actually actively resists just you shooting her, because she kind of dodges to the side a lot and shoots, dodgeable projectiles and such. And then if you're close, like she will, she has a couple of different attacks that also are dodgeable. She has like a vertical strike that you can sidestep.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Like you don't have a dodge capability.
She's got like a scythe too, so she's got some reach.
Yes. But it took me a couple tries, but eventually I killed her. This is where you get the really amazing ring that doesn't have spells, but is similar to the mask as far as stat growth goes. So it's just like, if you just really want to pump your stats, you wear this ring at the expense of magic. I'll be curious if the ending is different. Did you not kill her?
No, I did not kill her.
Yeah. I mean, she's a solid bro. I just did it because euthanasia.
Right. I saved and I was like, you know what? I don't want to kill. Like you generally don't get very far by killing solid bros in these games. And so I opted not to, but I saved and then attacked and I was like, this is a really cool fight that I don't want to finish. So
yeah, I'll be curious if the ending is at all different. Different. So I killed her. You get that really good ring. And you move on to my favorite area in the game.
Yes.
I think this is really cool.
Yes, the world of illusion, or the illusion world.
Or the false mansion. The mirage, the hallways of Mirage.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
Teleporter Junction.
the
Rumpus Room.
The Cathedral of Mirage. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is an indoor area, which I love. Like you've all of a sudden you've gone into like an area with hallways and fireplaces and shit. Yeah. And it's so jarring and cool when this happens.
Nothing has appeared habitable so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like this is, like down to the like stained glass that you're finding here. Like that's what made me feel like this is like a cathedral or something church-like. Also church-like is the fact that this is full of these praying lady cousin its.
And these are the most Bloodborne design, I think.
Yes,
because they're like holding a single candle.
Yeah, they're holding a single candle at the center of all.
Yes. Yeah.
And their hands are bound.
Yeah.
Too. So like they're kind of forced into this kind of genuflect kind of genuflecting kind of pose.
Yeah. These things are great. They're also only semi like aggressive.
Right. They're just kind of posted up.
Yeah. And there's so you run into them when you kind of go further in. You run into these dark ones, like these shadow versions of these that you kill, and they drop a gem for you. But then they don't die. Their ghost kind of continues to walk and will go through walls and stuff, leading to where the next one is, presumably.
Yeah. So like when you kill one of the dark ones, it will cause lights to light up above, certain doors that you're trying to get through. So I got the sense that they were like walking to use their ghost power to, light up one of the eyes.
Yeah. I thought those lights were based on the knights that you killed.
Oh.
Like that's what I thought was triggering the lights going off, and that the ghosts were heading to where, because I thought you were chasing the same ghost. Like you kill her, she gets back up and walks to another place, and then you kill her and she does the same thing again.
I don't know. I like you always kill them, or at least I always killed them so close to each other.
Yeah.
I didn't kill one and go take a look and see.
Yeah, and they're oftentimes by the knights.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to see, but that's kind of the gimmick here. They go from areas that are just kind of this last area that's full of very difficult ranged combat to this where there are like these fights where you're fighting these like candle maiden things.
Mm-hmm.
They're not fights. Like they don't really fight back. They might if you give them a chance. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like they do at all.
No.
Really, you're doing these one-on-one duels, and there's like 5 fights in this area. It's kind of great.
Yeah. And each of these has like its own element to it, and they're all very fast. Like this is the first time that like the pace of combat has been upped outside of a boss fight. Just because they are so mobile and they are kind of using everything at their disposal to kind of come at you, and you're fighting in these very duel-like environments, like these circular chambers.
Yeah. And kind of the gimmick here is you do that in order to get these void fairies, these void fairy discs. So after you fight one of these guys, you can access new areas. These void fairy discs will activate teleporters.
Yes.
And you find a chamber with 4 different colors, and you, by finding combinations of these colors equal to the number of these discs you have, you can kind of make further into these spokes, like further into these little tributaries that end with one of these knights that you can kill.
Yes.
To get another another candle maiden that you can get another one of these void discs to go even further into another.
So when I walked into this area and I saw that, like, okay, there are these teleporters, I thought, man, like, is this going to be like teleporter room kind of stuff? They haven't done this bullshit. It's going to be tedious, and it does involve like a certain amount of like trial and error. But you are just kind of like doing different configurations of these void fairy discs and and the colors to try and find whichever spoke gets you to the knight and the smallest number of moves. And so like it sidesteps the tedium that I associate with this kind of puzzle, both with teleporters and with this kind of trial and error. Like I had fun, going around and experimenting with it.
Me too. Like it is. I had the same experience or same kind of reaction where I thought it was going to be shitty, and what I thought it was going to be was like a Zelda version of this.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Zelda would do this and it would be tedious.
Yeah.
Because that's how Zelda does big environmental puzzles like this, I think. But it moves around. You move too quick. Like when you're at a dead end, you usually know really fast. And it just kind of sands the edges off. And there's only like a couple different configurations.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I'm going to have 2 gems for the entire time and have to try every combination. It's every time you succeed at doing the puzzle, you get another gem.
Yeah.
So you're widening your kind of, your possibility space.
So you're narrowing it because there are fewer empty ones that you have to manage.
Yeah. Widening your verb set, I guess. I meant like widening the number of options you can cut off.
Yeah.
So it ends up being really pretty smooth. So you go through and you do these fights, which I genuinely liked, kind of going through until eventually you have all of them lit. You can go all the way down the kind of final spoke.
There's one detail that we missed. So in some of the rooms, like leading to the central hub there, on either side there are statues like these bas reliefs that look like the insect alien from the first one, from the very bottom before you get to the void.
And they talk to you too.
Yeah, they talk about the galactic something, embrace life and enter empty space to continue a new despair. So like speaking nonsense, same.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It feels like it's from a really cool game though.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like everything about this, like the way that the space is, like endless hallways in a mansion like this. Like I can dig it. A little bit of like Miko Lash feeling.
Yeah.
To this area. But eventually you get to the end and you get to this amazing set piece that is like one of my favorite set pieces in Souls.
Yeah. So you walk down this long hallway with these undead crypt like statues that have torches in them, and you get to this circular room with this stained glass cairn in the center. And as you approach, the shrine ladies walk into it, and then this like stained glass cocoon opens up
into wings.
Yes, it's like a butterfly or like a flower blooming or something like that.
And behind it, so the ultimate effect is like a small version of like the mansion you're in, like a diorama, one that you are as tall as it, with gigantic stained glass bat wings.
Yeah.
Around it. And I love this like sense that like, oh, that actually is the area where I'm at. Like this is spacey wacy enough to where like, this is a direct one-to-one representation of what I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like super cool. Like that little, like an ancient, beautiful house with gigantic stained glass wings is a really cool image.
Yeah.
I really liked it. And then you fight this final lord here,
Yes.
the Nemesis.
Yes, that is what he is called. He's Nase Stars or whatever. And like my assumption here was that this possibly was the Spear King.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the tumor boss we fought in the Red Sand Spire or whatever, then this is him saying we serve the great will and share in this world, to obey the will, to defend the purpose with a capital P. For that reason we exist. Your power, however strong, opposes the great will. We must stop you above all else. That is our purpose.
Yes.
So they are kind of existing to keep this power contained within the tower. We're using our power, I think, still to want to get out, and that cannot be, because that is not the purpose. Yes.
So you fight him. He summons other knights.
Yeah.
To help him is kind of the gimmick here. Kind of moves around and it's similar to the night fights. I didn't have this experience they have in the notes, which sounds funny, but it just didn't happen to me.
Yeah. So what happened is I aimed for the arms, right? Because you can disarm him, you can go full Black Knight. However, that doesn't stop him from attacking, because he just does face lasers like Metal Gear Rex.
Yeah.
So he is just this walking torso that happens to be able to shoot lasers out of his eyes.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep.
That's very funny.
But this is a quick fight. It is a burst of action and then it is done.
Yeah. Yeah. And after you kill him, he says, our destruction opposes the will. However, if it must be so, did we live too long a life?
Same.
Yep. Same. Tragically long life. Drops the amethyst lift key, which is this is pretty much the ending of the game.
Yes.
And I did not expect that. But
right.
It's true. We just have one last area left.
Yeah, it really snuck up on me because this feels like an Act 2 climax almost.
Yeah.
Like things are going to get weirder.
I was expecting it to be like Anor Londo.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, all these weird outsider aliens I'm seeing statues of.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to go into the Giger-esque haunted fuck shack of the second half of this game, and not the case.
No. Because you take this amethyst elevator up to kind of what passes for the top of the tower, and you go to the Dazzling Globe area, which might let's just call it Dazzling Globe.
Yes, the Dazzling Globe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you follow this light up kind of pathway there to get to this area, which is a gigantic, very obvious looking human looking heart.
Yeah.
In the ceiling of some H.R. Geiger shit.
Yeah.
Here. And the heart talks to you.
Yes, our inevitable conflict. This is the fate of the living. You came here for your life. We are cursed. Will the end come?
Yep. And this is the boss fight, which this is so I see in the notes it's not different. I was wondering whether, so the heart summons Ariel.
Yep.
Who you fight, and it's gold, Super Saiyan Ariel.
Yeah.
And,
I get the sense it's almost like a crust over top of her or something like that.
It's very similar to the Velstats.
Yeah, she is covered with. You remember when Homer Simpson got LASIK at the mall and his eye scabbed over as he was walking away? That is what it looks like she is covered with.
Yeah, that is a gross. That's yes, I know exactly. There's a sound effect when the scabs crawl over too. That's really gross. Yeah. So I was wondering whether Ariel was summoned for me because I killed her, or whether it was always her.
No, and I think that she when she asked us to kill her, maybe she didn't know that she was eternal. Mm-hmm. She talks about being a tool, and obviously she is a tool of this will, right?
Yeah.
This heart can't do much for itself, but he can summon this avatar to fight for him or fight for it. Yeah.
Yep. So it's the same fight as when you fight Ariel before.
Right.
It's not that different. The idea being is that after she dies, you have kind of a window to shoot the heart.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't shoot the heart in time, she gets resummoned.
Yes.
So you have this little bit of time that you can use to shoot the heart. God help you if you have to reload at that point or something like that. So go in here with a full clip.
Yeah.
And you shoot the heart just once.
Mm-hmm.
And that beats the game. The heart says, we both wanted to live with all our hearts, endow with life, embracing life, the cursed. Same, which I again.
Yeah, that's a Dark Souls 2-ass message.
Yeah, I love. We both wanted to live with all our hearts.
Yep.
That's just oh, buddy. I don't know what you are or what anything is.
Or what you used to be.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
Or what you will become.
That sounds rough. I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, then fades to black.
Yep. Fade back up to the final cutscene, and we'll determine if this is the same. But it's an exterior view of this tower that is like overgrown. It's almost like a world tree almost. And our character, who is Chris Redfield, stands up and looks up at this tree and then walks away. But behind a tree in the foreground here, looking coyly at the camera, is a woman who it's hard to tell because the different rendering styles. Did you take this to be like a reincarnation of Ariel?
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, because that's the only significant woman in the game.
Right.
Like, so if it's not, and it's actually the other significant character.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't going to be like, Penis Monster 4 or like one of the, it's the guy who, rode the raft. Like, it almost has to be her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she looks into the camera thinking, oh, well, she's alive. That's great. But then her eye, turns into the eye from the crown and the spear. So,
the implication, like you let the power out.
Yes.
Like you open up the Pandora's box by getting out with this thing and put it on the rest of the world.
Yep.
So like
good job.
The next sequel, which will be fought using mechs, and like you'll have battle mechs, and you'll destroy buildings and stuff like that, will be loosely connected with the person who has the evil intercontinental ballistic missile.
Yep.
That is the symbol of power.
It'll be a crossover with Armored Core. It'll be Armored Core, the Shadow Column.
Yeah. Into it. I would play that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's a New Game Plus as well. You can save and go through. New Game Plus is real weird because you keep your stuff in your levels, but enemies don't scale up.
Right. So it is literally just a victory lap almost.
Yes. You want to, and the idea being is similar to Shadow Tower 1. There's this weird like gotta catch them all aspect where like getting all of the items and killing all of the monsters is a thing for people.
Yeah.
The guy that I read with the maps, that takes that tact.
Yeah.
Is that could be a thing you want to do. And that's part of the reason why there's so much equipment is like, I guess collecting it is supposed to be this other little game that I don't understand. And there's I don't like that in games about that. I don't like that in Animal Crossing.
Right. There is definitely like equipment you can only get by doing this, or you have like a higher chance of doing it. Specifically, there's a set that's like armor from the East. I forget what it's called. It's like the band armor or something like that has like amazing stats, but to what end? Because the first go of the game is incredibly easy as it stands.
Yeah, you're not going to use this on anything.
Yeah.
It's just, you just get to have it.
Yeah.
So, and then that's Shadow Tower Abyss.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Yes.
Like, I think this is very good. I might have come away from this like liking Shadow Tower 1 more.
Yeah, me too. I was disappointed. Like, what if we had the loop of Shadow Tower 1 with the accessibility of 2?
Yeah.
And I know that
amazing.
Those are a little bit at odds, right? But like, I want the presentation of 2, with just like the privation. I can't think of another word to kind of bring that. Like, I wanted this to be more survival horror-y. I wanted to scrape for longer. Because like, the metaphor that I used in the Shadow Tower episode was like, okay, it's like a slingshot, right? You are pulling against the resistance for so long that when you finally break it, you're actually like flung forward. Like the final act of Shadow Tower just flies by, right? Because you have like struggled past this. Progression is kind of meaningless in this game. In a certain way, like it jettisons a lot of like the dependence on the systems, even if the systems are there in name. It jettisons that in a way that feels very unsatisfying compared to the first.
There's no pleasure in figuring this out.
Right.
Like there's nothing to figure out in Shadow Tower Abyss, which is part of like, again, like it is just an ease of use thing, which is really cool. Like I still like it. I'm still glad I played it, and there are so many things it does really well. Like the combat system, like, Shadow Tower 1 could have benefited from such a thing, like this dismemberment-based combat system and like a wider variety of areas and kind of biomes and stuff. Like there are lots of things that are much better, like objectively better. And I'm even into having guns in the game, like that. I'm fine with that. There's so much of it.
Yeah.
That it becomes just becomes too much. And then it also feels like literally unfinished. Like the suddenness of that ending makes me think that like maybe the game was not meant to end there. Because it just comes out of nowhere. You know, like, yes, we fought 7 lords or what have you, but like it just feels like an unfinished game a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like in things are broken, but just in that like the back half was chopped off.
Yeah.
You know, if it were like a modern game, I would think that would be for the DLC or something. You know, it predates that. So it's like the satisfaction I had in playing Shadow Tower was like learning Shadow Tower to where I'm like, I'm good at this. Like, and I can, you know, this is something that like I had to figure out. I had a little bit of like a mechanical version of the feeling that you have in Dark Souls of figuring out the story, where I took all of the elements that I knew once I figured out how they worked through experimentation and figured out how they work together.
Yeah.
And that was a feeling of like ownership of this system. Like, oh, this actually works together really well. Shadow Tower Abyss, like, it just works out of the box, you know. And it wouldn't have been better if the enemies had like more HP. You know, it's not like making it hard in a traditional way would not have done it, because then it would have been like, it just would have taken too long to fight things and would have introduced a new problem. Like, just needed less equipment and less equipment in general. Just especially when the equipment's not doing anything. Like, if each little piece of equipment told me a little story, that would have been incredible. Like, and that would have made it worth it.
Yep.
You know, it would have been like, oh, that's the reason they did that.
Yeah.
You know,
it would have been, I mean, and also I don't know what the implications of this choice would be, but like returning to a model where equip weight matters, but carry weight doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, like just,
100%. I didn't even think about that, but like being able to put on all your best equipment at any time with no considerations is not like a good choice, really. You know, like I don't like level limits on equipment when I find it, like when you play like a Diablo clone and it's like, oh, I found this cool thing, I can't use it yet. That's a bummer. I do like it in Dark Souls when I find like a really cool sword, and to wear it I have to wear no armor.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I have to make a sacrifice. I can break this power curve a little bit, but at the cost of my survivability. And that's a cool choice. Like that is a choice.
Yep.
You know, at all. And that's why that matters. You don't have to make any choices in Shadow Tower Abyss.
No, you just use whatever makes the numbers biggest.
Yeah. Which is, again, you know, there's so many things it does well, but I ended up liking it a little bit less. I mean, they're both like games I think are totally worth playing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, and especially like, I mean, there's a lot of Souls DNA in this, and it's, you know, it does a lot of things that like Patches shows up. Yeah. And, you know, so it's like, it's important for people who are way into Souls and into the Souls history to like be aware of this.
Yeah.
And at least watch a Let's Play or something. But it is, I wish it was a little bit harder.
I wish it wasn't as airy as it is, which is weird because, like, you know, man, I would even say that up through like the poison area, I would, like, you're still behind the power curve. That kind of is where it feels the best. Yeah, to me, like before you really get momentum and break the friction, right? And so I just kind of wish that feeling lasted just a little bit longer, because it makes the game feel less substantial than I want it to be.
And the in comparison, because Shadow Tower, you are so behind the curve in the beginning. Like you start out less powerful than you do in the beginning of this, but that sweet spot lasts from like the water area through like maybe through the illusion area, up until the death area, and the death area is when you're like, oh, I'm God. Yep. You know, but it lasts for a large portion of the game, whereas this, like, it's just the first third or so that it is at all an uphill battle. Yeah. Like most of the game takes place in this post scarcity world. Yeah. And that's you know, it stops you from having to make choices. Yeah. And making choices is, you know, that's one of those definitions of fun, where it's like the number of meaningful choices you're making, you know, per the amount of time that you're spending, like over, like that is an established equation for fun. Yep. And this is you're just not doing it. Yep. So as cool as it was to explore those areas, and as cool as I also almost think the monster designs are not as like quite as evocative. Right. Like I like being able to dismember them, but they're so weird in Abyss. Yeah. Or Shadow Tower. Yeah. Shadow Tower Prime. And also there are fewer of them here. Yes. Like in one, you know, we were in Shadow Tower 1, we made the comment that like it just feels like they cut the deck on somebody's sketchbook and said like, okay, we're just gonna make that. and some of the monsters here are really great. Yeah. You know, still, but you know, specifically like those Candle Maidens are great. There's a couple of really good designs, but there are fewer of them, and they're not just as weird. Like some of them feel more like generic monsters to me. Yeah. Which is kind of a step back. So,
and even the stuff that should be like really weird, the Metroids and the Baylets or whatever, they didn't stick out to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe just because they weren't goofy. Maybe it took itself just a little bit too seriously.
It's also probably the higher fidelity.
Yeah.
Like they look more like video game enemies. They didn't have to do weird things to, with the low polygon count.
Yeah.
To make them, there weren't as many tricks to it, so you didn't have to use your imagination as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still really excellent. But I in the first hour of this game, I was expecting it to be like, oh, this is like 1,000 times better than Shadow Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the Shadow Tower that addresses all of my problems with Shadow Tower.
Yeah.
And then that didn't turn out to be the case. Mm-hmm. So still glad we did it. I'm looking forward to I'm going to do like a Kingsfield dive, I think, at some point during this summer.
Yeah.
And just because those are, I like this genre of game a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So seek it out. Like if we sounded kind of like milquetoast about it, it's just because like for me personally, I want some combination of the two games that just can't possibly exist.
It's so easy going down too.
Yeah.
So like seek it out, not least of which because even if we were a little bit milquetoast on it, there are enough high highs to it, and it goes down quickly and easily.
Yeah.
So it's literally easy and it's short.
Yep.
Yeah, if you have anything, so after this, we have an appendix episode after this, and then we're playing Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about that at the time we're recording this. But that's what's coming out next. But if you, the contact forum, there's no real reason to jump on there. If you end up having any thoughts about whatever the first area of that game ends up being, which we don't know, don't write them in because we don't want to know what the first area is yet.
Yep. So spoil me.
Yeah, don't spoil anything in the contact forum, please. But we'll let you know when to start writing in again. Mm-hmm. But for now, you can just do the normal stuff. Join us at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. That is a huge help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since the last time we talked, I know that we're a couple of episodes into this session. We've put up some shirts and stuff like that. So go to duckfeed.tv/shirts to find some designs, some of which will be inspired by goofs made on this show. And we're holding like monthly polls for designs and things like that. Yeah. And they're super not costly.
Yeah, one of the shirts is just the text. What if when you ejaculated an eye came out? And it's just the plain text, black text on a white shirt.
Yep, Arial font.
You want to wear that? I'm gunning for papyrus.
Okay. Yep. No. So you want to wear that so that that idea can be a contagion. We spread it to a handful of thousand of people here. We need to get this even further. This needs to be
there could be a name for this phobia.
Yep. I want Barack Obama to feel this fear to his very core.
Yeah. Yeah. If it reaches the White House, we'll have succeeded.
Yep. Oh man. But all of that. Thank you everybody for listening to this off season. We got to experiment with a lot of cool stuff, not just games, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. So we're grateful for that.
If you don't like that stuff, if you wanted to be more focused on Souls, the nice thing is we have at least one more off season planned, and every single of these thousands of Soul-like games will come out while Dark Souls 3 is going on.
Yep.
So just wait. We'll get to your salts and your sanctuaries and stuff, but it will be like a year and a half from now.
Yep.
So just wait though. Yep. You have 18 months. You're okay. And ratings, reviews, all that stuff is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So stay tuned next week for a brief appendix. So what should they do, Cole?
They don't get Maul LASIK, otherwise you're going to turn into the servant of the heart god.
Yes.
Yeah.
Umbasa.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon.
All right. Do you want to do this real quick?
Yeah, let's cram a jam because I've got a pack to go home this weekend.
Okay.
All right.